welcome back to my channel. So, I know this is a little bit of a different setup. I feel like the last few videos have been more of a interesting type of setup. So, here's the thing. I just signed my papers. Thank you. I just signed my papers yesterday to become a homeowner, and I got my keys. So we started moving stuff and getting our house organized over there with what stuff we brought. And then we still have to finish packing here. But my library right now is like a mess. There are boxes stacked from the very bottom all the way to the top. The only thing left on my bookshelves are the books I bought yesterday because I have no self-control, and I accidentally went book shopping to celebrate the fact that I bought a house. You know, you do the same thing. Come on, admit it. You do the same thing. So, this is going to be more of a chill style wrap up. I don't have any physical books. Like I said, all I have on my shelf right now are the books that I bought yesterday. So you're going to have a book haul coming. But I'm going to scoot over here. My laptop is right here. So if I keep looking over here, it's because my laptop is right there. And I need to know what books I read. So this month of May was was the month that I read the least amount of books, with only 17 books. But what's interesting is that I actually read more pages in May than I did in April and March. So I think it was the fact that some of my books were bigger, especially like The Last Housewife. My average page count before that was like 300 pages, but that book I think is like 650 pages or something like that. So that's kind of why my page count's up so high, but my actual books are down lower. And like 17 is not a low amount of books. That's a lot to read in a month. But for me personally, that's the least amount of books I've read this year. And looking at my stats over here, something that's interesting to me is that the shortest month of the year, February, I read the most amount of books. How is that even, that's unreal. So it says the first book I read in May was The Lies I Tell by Julie Clark. This is the second book by this author that I have read. And to be honest with you, I don't think that she is the author for me personally. Her first book, or the first book I read by her, was The Flight Attendant, or The Flight, whatever. This book, they're both up there, hopefully. And I thought that one was kind of political, and I just didn't like that one. The Lies I Tell was so boring. It's supposed to be like this cat and mouse game, kind of like this jealousy and revenge tale, or at least that's what I was expecting. And it didn't work. I think I'm giving up on this author. I gave that book a 1 star. I think that was my least favorite book of the month. But we went from a 1 star all the way to a 5-star book for me. And that was, the 5-star book is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I've talked about it on my channel already. There's a reading vlog of me reading it. I'll try and link it somewhere. I loved The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead, but I will not be recommending that to everyone, because I know that it's not in everyone type of book, and I would not recommend it to the masses, because there's essentially, you're following Shay, who, you get alternating chapters of her in college with her two best friends, Laurel and I don't remember the best friends' names. I'm sorry. But you follow that and what's going on there, because there's a true crime podcaster who she knew back in the day, and now he's opening a case because both of her best friends have died under suspicious circumstances, but everyone thinks that they were just suicides. But what they don't know is that back in high school, the three of them were part of this, there was this guy, and he was basically their pimp. Okay? He was their pimp. And then you kind of get thrown into this world of I would describe it as a cult. So if you like cults, or reading about them, it was done really, really well, because it talks a lot. Stop it. It talks a lot about misogyny towards women, and about there are some very disturbing things. It is probably the most disturbing book I've ever read. But there's rape on scene in the book. And there's a lot of a cult, and you're Shay is going undercover to go back to see what really happened to her best friend, and she kind of gets pulled back into that world. And so it's differing chapters from college, what happened, how she got started in this cult, and why she went back, and how it's going to affect her mental health, and the commentary on society, and society views on, they're outdated views, but a lot of people still feel like women belong in the kitchen, and that we can't have minds of our own, that we just have to yes sir, I agree with you, towards our husbands. And I just think, that's not really accurate anymore. Some people still feel that way though. But it was just a very dark and disturbing book, and I truly would not recommend it to everyone, because I know that there are people that cannot read that kind of thing, so definitely check the trigger warnings. But I loved it personally. And then we're going from the most dark and disturbing book that I read this month to a very fun adventure book. I personally only gave this 3 stars, but going into it, I knew that I wouldn't love it because it's a middle grade. It is Nevermore: The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend, which is the first in this trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. But it's the first in the series, and I might want to continue on with the series, because I'm the type of teacher that wants to read all the books that she puts into her library for her kids, because I don't want to put anything inappropriate in there. And I doubt that there's anything wrong with those books. It was just a really fun middle grade adventure book, and I am interested to get more for my classroom, and that's kind of what it was for. Then this really just depicts how broad of a reader I am, because like already we've had a couple thrillers, some middle grade fantasy, and we're going back to thrillers with The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This follows this girl, can't remember her name, this woman, she's like house sitting out in the country, you know, dark atmosphere, and she leaves a 1-star review for a book that she read, and the author didn't like that, so maybe he's out to get her, maybe he's in for some revenge. And this book took me places. Like, I was a little hesitant to pick Taylor Adams again because I love No Exit. Like, Darby, me and Darby, best friends. But I did not like that other book that we don't speak of, Hairpin Bridge. Yeah, we don't talk about that book. So I was hesitant, but you know, I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt and just go in blindly to this book, and it was so good. It was like on fire. So I don't want to give away anything because it is a thriller with some horror aspects, because at the beginning of the book you're like house sitting, but it feels like someone is watching you, but you're supposed to be alone. So it made me question, oh, maybe the house is haunted, or maybe someone's in there. Is there an intruder and he's just like messing with her, or what is going on? And then it just like, ooh, it was so good. It was the perfect thriller. It would surprise me if it doesn't make it to my favorites of the year. I know that's 6 months away, but I do have to do a favorite so far, and if it's not on that list, then someone needs to like be mean to me in the comments, because that is a lie. That needs to be on there.
The best part of this book was the atmosphere. It was amazing.
Strangers by Margaret Peterson Haddix. I was not right at all. But this was a fun middle grade. This one I personally liked more than Nevermore, so I gave this one 4 stars. Again, I'm not the intended audience, so I don't typically read a lot of middle grade, but I do have to read the books before I put them in my classroom, so that's what I was doing. Unless some books, I don't know if you know this or not, but generally children's or middle grade books will actually have an age rating on the back of the book. So if it has that age rating, then I don't force myself to read it because it says it's appropriate for kids in 2nd grade, and if it's appropriate for them, then I'm good. But if I can't find that rating anywhere, then I have to read all of them. So that's why I read The Strangers, and you know, it was really fun mystery. I think it's listed as a children's mystery thriller. I didn't think it was all that thrilling, but of course I'm used to adult thrillers, so maybe that's what it was. But you follow these 3 siblings who come home from school, and they live in Ohio, but kids in Arizona have been kidnapped. But they have the same names and their same birthdays, and they look very, very similar. And then mom is like, okay, you're gonna go stay with someone else for a little bit. I'm gonna go take care of some business, and then things start happening. And there's like alternate universes in this story, and I just really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I felt like I connected to the characters in this one a lot, which is hard to do when you're a 30-year-old woman reading from a child's perspective, but I definitely loved Finn. He was like my favorite character in that book, but it was just all around a fun, scary time for kids, but I loved it. Our next book is a nonfiction, so I never rate nonfiction. This one was fine. I don't really know what I was expecting from it, but I read Pretty Happy by Kate Hudson. This one actually took me over a month to finish. But I did take some notes while I was reading, and it has like clean eating and tips for keeping your house clean, and you know, it was very self-helpy. I wasn't expecting that as much, but it was fine. I mean, I like Kate Hudson as an actress. I don't know. You know, like, it was fine. That's all I have to say. Then I went from a nonfiction to a romance. So, you know, just broadening what I read. And I read Drunk on Love by Jasmine Guillory. So Jasmine Guillory was actually the first romance author that I read. I read The Wedding Date, and I continued on with that series for 2 more books. And I did really enjoy it, but then I started broadening my horizons on what romance authors I was reading, so I stopped reading books from her. And I kind of wish that I would have finished that series. So maybe if there's a series video that I want to do, maybe that series will be on there, but I think I'd have to restart it. I don't own it either, so that would be one that I would have to pick up too. But Drunk on Love, Margaret. Okay, so Drunk on Love follows Margaret, who is the co-owner of the winery with her brother. And she goes on this work trip, and when she comes back, she's really stressed out. So she goes out drinking, and she ends up having a one-night stand with this really cute guy that she met in the bar. The only problem is that Luke, the guy she slept with the night before, ends up going to her winery, and he is her employee. And that just makes things like awkward and puts them in a very sticky situation. I found that this was really kind of funny and very, very cute. I thought it was a sweeter romance, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. It's just kind of a lighthearted, fun, contemporary romance. And, you know, sometimes I need that because I tend to read a lot of things that are harder to stomach, like The Last Housewife. But that one was really fun. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was cute. Then I did this princess reading vlog, and it did not go how I had planned, but the first book that I read for that was The Princess Diaries, which was a reread for me. But I didn't own it physically, so I read it digitally, and I thought it was really cute because Anne Hathaway actually narrates the audiobooks. So I really enjoyed that. But for some reason, I did not remember a lot of the differences between the movie and the book. And I basically just found that I prefer the movie. I have better memories with the movie. So I was going to read the entire series, but I just read the first one and it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. But like I said, watch the movie instead. So since I wasn't going to finish The Princess Diaries, the entire series, I decided to kind of pivot a little bit in that reading vlog, and I read The Accidental Beauty Queen because there was a tiara on the cover, and this was for my Wacky Wednesday, like, princess books or princess whatever. And The Accidental Beauty Queen is this adult contemporary about these two sisters. One sister is a pageant queen, and she's 29, so she's aging out of the system for pageantry, but she has some kind of like allergic reaction and she can't compete. So her twin sister, who is not pageanty at all, goes in her place. And so it's like a kind of they switch places type of thing. And I just thought it was really, really cute. I loved the like sibling relationship. I absolutely love that. And it is a romance, but I don't think this entire book is about romance. I think if you liked Miss Congeniality, then you would love this book, The Accidental Beauty Queen. I liked it so much that I bought myself a copy after I finished reading it, so that tells you something, because usually if I read a book digitally, it's like in, out. But this one was so good. I gave it 5 stars, if you couldn't tell. It was definitely a fun one. So if you want more of a fun adventure, kind of comedy, a sweeter book, then I would definitely recommend it. And it also has a lot of Harry Potter references and a lot of Miss Congeniality references. And I love Miss Congeniality. It made me like want to watch Miss Congeniality again. So I don't know, there might be a night where I'm gonna watch Miss Congeniality, because that was one of my favorites.
I'm so sorry that my camera keeps going blurry during this video. I don't know why.
And then we went from The Accidental Beauty Queen to Geekerilla by Ashley Poston, which was actually a book that I tried to read previously that I DNF'd quite early. And I remember, so it's like a Cinderella retelling. It's young adult, which is not really my thing. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was fine, but again, not for me. Personally, there's like this fandom thing that I didn't really care about or understand. I just didn't care, and I got to the point where I didn't care about the characters or about anything that was going on, and I'm just like, just get me out of this book. So I only gave it 3 stars. It was fine, and I know that other people really love it, so I'm gonna let them just really love on that book. And then we have another 5-star. Okay. So the next book is an adult thriller. It was my next 5-star read. So For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. Interesting factoid for you is that I've read, interesting fact for you, is that I've read from Samantha Downing. I read My Lovely Wife. Thought it was overhyped, didn't love it as much as everyone else does, but I was like, okay, I'll try For Your Own Good, mostly because I read They Never Learn last year and someone compared them, and so I'm like, okay, you know what, I'll try. Anyways, I tried For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing, and I absolutely loved this book. So you follow this high school teacher who is named Ted Crutcher, and he is a serial killer, but he gets into this big mess. He makes a mess of his job because he accidentally kills the wrong person, and then to make up for it, because someone innocent was like put in jail for murdering this person that he didn't mean to murder. So to make up for it, he starts killing more people on campus so that the police will release the innocent person from jail. And then he just makes a mess of everything. And this book was messy and so much fun. I loved being in Ted's head. I mean, I didn't, because it was an awkward place to be, a very weird place. And I can't say anything bad about this book. It was just perfection. It was so much fun. So if you like the fun thrillers where you're following a serial killer and you just like messiness, For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing was a good one. The rest of my books are going to be like 3 stars. Okay, there's 4 3 stars, 1 2 star, and 1 4 star. So let's just talk about all the 3 stars together. Let's see. So there's All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda, 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, I Hate You More by Lucy Gilmore, and Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe. Let's talk about All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda first. This one was a 3 star for me because I've already read it and I forgot that I read it. So it's very unmemorable. It was like a fine mystery while I was reading it, but then I got like halfway through it and I'm like, I've read this before. And I didn't remember how it ended, so then I finished it a second time and I'm like, okay, that was fine, but I don't feel fulfilled or anything. It was just like, okay. Then 6 Crimson Cranes, I Hate You More, and Lore Olympus. Those 3 are just not for me personally, especially 6 Crimson Cranes and Lore Olympus. Those were like fantasy. I think they're both young adult fantasy too. They're kind of both based on, 6 Crimson Cranes is based on folklore and Lore Olympus is based on mythology. I thought that I was into mythology, but to be honest with you, I haven't really been into mythology since I was in high school, which was a while ago. So personally, I didn't love these books. I gave them 3 stars. They were fine, but I know that there's a crowd out there for them, and it's just not me. And that's okay. Then, I Hate You More by Lucy Gilmore is a romance that sounded really good. It's like a dog pageant, and this enemies to lovers romance was supposed to be what I was pitched. I just found the romance between Spencer and Maggie. It's not Maggie. Let's see if I can figure it out. Oh, okay. Okay. I'll just tell you my review. This sounded really cute and original. A romance set at or during a dog pageant. I found the human characters to be boring. There was one scene that you just went from, I just met you, but let's be cringy together. It was fine, I guess. Very forgettable though. Ouch. Yeah, that's exactly what I said though. And then I have, okay, so people are not gonna like me here. And you know what, that's okay. I have a 2-star book. My 2-star book is The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward. So hear me out. I loved the writing in here, but I felt like I didn't enjoy this book because I, as a thriller reader, I could see what was coming. And maybe I'm the unpopular opinion here, but like, the characters seem way too much alike, so I could guess the twist very, very early on. And I loved following from Olivia's perspective, the cat, and I loved the writing, but the book just as a whole didn't quite sit right with me. I don't know. It just didn't quite work for me. I am interested in reading more from Katrina Ward to see if maybe like Sundial is something that I would enjoy more, because I see potential in this author. This particular book was a DNF for me from a couple years ago. I tried it again because everyone's still hyping about it, and I personally didn't love it, but I see how other people can love it. I hope that makes sense. And then our last book was a novella. There's Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw. This is a horror novella about this group of friends that breaks into this haunted house type thing in Japan so that two of their friends could get married. I loved everything about this book except for the characters. The characters were so one-dimensional, so flat, and kind of annoying, to be honest with you. Almost so annoying that I DNF'd it, but I'm really glad I didn't. It was like a very confusing, haunted time for me. I was so very confused the entire time, and I still don't really know what happened in this book, but I think that's kind of some of the fun of it. So that was my wrap up for May. I know it's a little bit different because I'm out in the living room on my couch, laying with my doggies. I almost called them kitties because they act like it. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're new around here. I will see you in the next video. Bye. This is Jelly Bean and this is Bella. They love me sometimes.